When you think of the FOSS world, most people don't really think of video games. Maybe you think of some of the tooling to make a video game, engines like Godot, 3D modeling software like Blender, and a bunch of other things, but not the video games themselves. Now, there are a few titles that are open source. Things like Super Tux Kart, which if you're a Linux user, you've probably played at least one round. Hopefully, games like Lugaru, which is about a kung fu rabbit. It's really weird, it's really complex, and you should play it. But also, maybe a game like Minetest, which, if you ask me, has never really sounded like a good way to brand it. It's always sounded like, oh, this is Minecraft, but it's like someone making a test clone of Minecraft, and they don't really have a good name for it. It doesn't really have its own identity. All it exists as is a Minecraft clone. And when you open up a basic world without any additional mods, it literally plays like a Minecraft clone, or at least a clone of a really old version of the game. But going forward, that is no longer going to be the case. It's still going to be a Minecraft clone, but it's going to have its own brand identity, because now it will no longer be known as Minetest. Introducing our new name. Is this a Minecraft clone? Is it like Minecraft Alpha? If you've been a member of our community for some time, you're probably aware of how these questions remind us of what people think of when they hear the name Minetest, a ripoff of a similar genre-defining game. If I didn't know what Minetest was, it really does sound like all of the other clones of Minecraft that you'll see on places like the App Store, like Block World, Mine Block, Block Mine, Craft Block, Mine Block, Craft Mine, Miner Block, Block Crafter. Like, all of these just sound like the exact same thing. Truth be told, that was Celeron55's initial plan. This is the original creator of the Minetest game. But things change, and Minetest evolved. Now the time has come for Minetest to assume a new identity and prove it has moved beyond its original purpose. Now, when you do a rebrand like this, it's not just a spur-of-the-moment thing, and this has been an issue for quite a long time. Back in 2017, there was a poll done, 43% yes, 48% no. I have no idea how you can think Minetest was a good name. This then led to a continued discussion with more people discussing the exact same thing. Another discussion happened in 2021, and then another discussion also in 2021. Now, here was the problem. Even if they did decide to rename the project, a lot of the suggestions are just not very good. You have things like Voxler, which just sounds like any generic voxel game. Or people in here were suggesting things like Free Miner. It doesn't fix the problem. If you go from one generic sounding name that sounds like every other game in that genre to another generic sounding name that sounds like every other game in that genre, why go through the effort of doing the rename? Minetest is fine in that situation. Now, before we get to the name change, let's talk some project history. After seeing Minecraft's alpha debut, Celeron55 took it as a challenge to explore the mystery of how a game world like this works under the hood. The name wasn't very important. It was a test after all, an experiment to see what it could do differently. At the time, there weren't really that many people doing so. Since then, though, there have been entire YouTube channels built around this concept as a way to teach game design. Lots of people have done it since, but it's still an interesting project to take on. An experiment that began attracting more users and contributors throughout the years until Minetest eventually evolved from a game to what it is today, a game platform. Now, Minetest itself is not really a good game. The Minetest game, the basic way to play it is very, very, very simple, right? Like, it is an early Minecraft clone, and you get what you'd expect from an early Minecraft clone. If that's what you want, hey, go ahead and play it. But the interesting part is what you can build on top of it. Through the efforts of the community over the past decade, Minetest has developed a unique identity with an approachable API and easy scripting language. That being in Lua, support for community-created games and mods, a central library to easily find community content, and more recently, a shift to promoting community creations instead of the original Minetest game. Despite these advancements, one anachronistic holdover has remained to remind us of the past, an idea that no longer describes the purpose of the project and community: its name. So over on the Minetest website, to see the Minetest game, it's literally in the bottom right-hand corner. Before you get to that point, there are all of these other things being shown off. Also, if we go over to this site, go back to the homepage, we have a ton of different things being worked on. A ton of different games you can play, a ton of different mods you can add, a ton of different texture packs, of course, and there is a lot of stuff you can go through here and just play around with it. Like, the main core game isn't really the main way to play it. It is intended to be built on top of to make something more interesting and more exciting to play. After more than a year of public and internal discussions, that era is over. Minetest is no more. Now, it's still kind of present because there's a lot of things that have not yet been updated, but it will be no more. The Minecraft clone is no more. It's still gonna be that, but it's not gonna sound like one. With great thanks to the community for their input, we wave goodbye to Minetest and introduce a new era. Welcome, Luanti. Which, this title kinda captures perfectly. Luanti might seem like a really random name, like, why is that? Like, yes, it doesn't sound like a Minecraft clone, but it also just sounds like randomly assorted letters. But it does make sense. Luanti is a wordplay on the Finnish word luonti, meaning creation, and the programming language Luanti employs for games and mods, Lua. So Lua, Luonti, Luanti. The goal was to avoid yet another plain English word, good luck finding something unique, and highlight the core principles of the project. The fusion of Celeron 55's Finnish nationality and the platform's focus on content creation resulted in the birth of Luanti. Yes, you could have called it Creation Craft, Mod Mine, Mod Craft, Craft Mine Mod, Craft Game Make Mod. But again, if that's what you're gonna do, it just, no matter how you do it, is gonna sound like a Minecraft clone. Also important to avoid free or Libre in the name, because we don't think it does the project justice. Luanti will always be free software, but that core principle is not everything it has to offer. Projects like Blender, Critter, or Godot are awesome, and they don't need to convince you about their Libre nature by putting it in their names. They are Libre, but they are also much more. Now, I do think this makes sense for certain kinds of projects. FreeDOS is a great example of this. The point of FreeDOS is to be MS-DOS compatible, but be FOSS. Like, that's its whole purpose. It is not trying to do anything different, so calling it FreeDOS makes a lot of sense here. Now, whilst I like the project, then there are things like LibreOffice. Yes, having Microsoft Office compatibility is a good thing in LibreOffice, but it's not just trying to be a clone of LibreOffice, it is a lot more than that. Now, the name has kind of stuck for a long time, and a lot of people just don't even know what the word Libre means if you're only an English speaker, so it kind of just stuck. But if they ever did want to do a rebrand, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Free kernel. Yes, Linux is a free kernel, but looking at the project also tells you it's a free kernel. It's not trying to be a clone of another kernel, it's trying to be its own separate thing, so giving it its own identity makes a lot more sense. Now you might say, well, what about projects like FreeBSD and OpenBSD? In the context of BSD today, these names might seem a little bit weird. In the context of what BSD was historically, it actually makes a lot of sense. So, FreeBSD and NetBSD, they were based on the 386BSD project. This was the very first free and open source implementation of Unix. Before that, BSD did exist, but it wasn't open source. So FreeBSD being based on 386BSD makes a lot of sense. Then OpenBSD was based on the NetBSD project. Once again, it historically makes sense, but being the only BSDs that are around that people care about, it seems kind of weird. Also, at the end of the day, it's a name and doesn't really matter. Luanti is a lot of things. Many of us are familiar with the voxel nature of the engine and the library of content it supports, and name suggestions related to that idea were certainly plentiful. Voxler, voxel game, voxel, voxeler, voxel game, craft mine, voxel. But describing that in the new name would limit the platform in the same way as the original. Users and developers would come to expect it to be an engine exclusive to Cube games when it can be more than that. Luanti is a platform that is built to help you create. It's a platform where anyone can make something. It's a platform that will keep evolving to support your creation. Now, a name change affects more than just, like, the marketing material. Because everything else was called Minetest, it is also going to have to be updated. Obviously, the repositories and community hubs will adopt Luanti name in some form. The GitHub, luanti-org, which they haven't transferred things over to, I'm not entirely sure why they didn't just rename the old one, which I'm pretty sure you can do. Correct me if I'm wrong there. The website will become luanti.org. Now, I don't know why they didn't deal with this problem earlier, but right now it's like a placeholder site. Moving this to here wouldn't be that difficult. Maybe it's like an SEO thing and they don't want to move things over straight away, but it's been like that for a couple of days, or it's been like a landing page. This is new, but whatever. I'm sure there's a reason for it. The logo will be staying, and you'll probably still hear Minetest occasionally in reference to the Minetest game, which makes sense to not rename the original game, like the core game mode. Now, considering the current site is minetest.net, you might ask, why not luanti.net? And, we can look that up. Well, actually, literally no reason, because if you compare what we have on the site here, they are owned by the same person and they were registered on the exact same date. If we actually go to luanti.net, it will redirect us to luanti.org. So I don't know why they didn't mention it in the post here. For developers, the engine won't actually change much. For those who aren't aware, Core is actually the real Lua namespace used internally. Minetest is just an alias, which we will keep for compatibility. There's no reason to get rid of it. Maybe you can deprecate it into the future if you're certain that, like, older games that are no longer being updated no longer work. That's probably going to be fine, but it really doesn't matter, right? Like, if the internal name still says Minetest instead of using Core, which is the official namespace to use, it really doesn't matter. Maybe people 15 years from now will be like, why is it called Minetest? And then you can redirect them to this post. We hope that free from the ghost of its past, Luanti can bloom into something more and bring life to adventures and experiences for years to come. It can now live and breathe on its own, explore its nature and potential, and overcome its limits. At the very least, we can finally say to those who once asked, is this a Minecraft clone? No, not anymore. They're still going to look at it and say, ah, It's a Minecraft clone, but at least the name sounds a little bit different. It came from humble beginnings and has grown into a powerful game platform where you and anyone else can start creating, and with your help, it will continue to grow into something even better. What do you think about the new name? And you know what? I'm gonna ask you that. What do you think about the new name? Let me know down below. Also, there are still things that are like not updated. The website obviously is still on Minetest. The forum is still on Minetest, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that have not yet been updated. I think their Mastodon says Luanti formerly Minetest, which is probably a good way to do it, at least for now, until people actually know about the name change. But anyway, do you play Minetest? Do you like the game? Are you a modder for the game and have worked on, I don't know, something cool? I'd love to know. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you liked the video, go like the video. If you really liked the video, I jumped ahead through the outro. And you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the LiberaPay linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me. And it is the first day that's actually hot. So I'm going to go turn a fan on or something.
Like this.